Another year you're older, another sleepless night tonight, another way to shoulder all the pain that's locked inside.
Yeah, I'm not scared to tell people that I've been there and done that. That 2 of my sisters got pregnant out of wedlock, and that was very hard on our family. You know, just seeing my parents' reaction to that scared me. I knew that I didn't want to disappoint them that way again. But my dad was an alcoholic, and he was very hard on my sister. She was only 18 at the time, and you know, that's a hard age anyway. And I think she saw it as her way out. It was the only way to get out of my dad's house and the abuse that she was getting. You know, but sadly, I did go down the path of premarital sex, not because of my sisters, but something happened to me that summer that was very devastating, and it was, I can't really explain the mindset it put me in, but I was disappointed in myself. I was angry with myself for years. I mean, I carried it into my marriage. That was in August, I guess, I initially met him, and by November, there was a definite attraction there. He had transferred to UK a year ahead of me because he was a year ahead of me in school and had started med school, and I stayed at Western and finished up, you know, did the long distance thing. And so that year was kind of rough. I could tell just a change in his attitude towards me and the way he treated me. He did propose, and of course I accepted. We went through a rough period, and we were engaged, and he was going through some things. He didn't know what he wanted. And I was tired of, you know, being treated badly. And I just said, you know what? I'm breaking this off. His sister was graduating from high school, and I called and I said, I'd really like to come to her. I hadn't spoken to him, hadn't laid eyes on him in 2 weeks. And I remember he came out to meet me, and first thing he did was say, can I have a hug? And he talked my head off the rest of that weekend. And he was so apologetic, and he'd been, you know, thinking about things. And when we got back to Lexington, he said, I want you to have this back. And he gave me the ring. I said, are you sure? And he said, absolutely. And so I guess at that point, we never really cared to know why the church taught that it was wrong. And so the more people kept bringing it up, you know, it's like anything. If something keeps making its way into your life, it's from God. And you have to acknowledge that if you're a faith-filled person. And Pat never really liked the birth control pill anyway. He never trusted it. Probably his medical background. And, you know, even when I took it, you know, I was never on it for more than a year. He'd say, I want you off of it. It's funny, Pat was doing the men's group. The guys in his group were talking about it too, about natural family planning. Of course, it's called it NFP, and he was like, what is that? You know, he had no idea. And of course, I'm with the wives, and they were talking about NFP, and so they started talking about specific things that they were doing. And I don't know, I just thought, gosh, we really need to look into this. I mean, obviously, there's something to this. And so I bought a book on Billings' method. I thought I knew what I was doing. I talked to my friends, you know, they kind of gave me the lowdown. I'm pregnant with Bailey when we decided to do this, and I'm looking at it, right? And so reading this book and thinking, okay, we'll give it a shot. Well, 22 months later, here comes Leo. So I'm thinking, okay, all right, you know, kind of brushed up again and thought, I know what I'm doing. I had no clue what I was doing. And that was a really hard time for me because, first of all, that was the first time I had had 2 in diapers. You know, I had spaced the others out with birth control. And so I started talking to some other friends who were using the Creighton model. When you're doing natural family planning every single month, because you're naturally more attracted to each other during that time, during your fertile time, because that's the way God intends for procreation to happen, you have to go, okay, why is it we don't want to have a baby right now? I've always loved being pregnant. It's such an incredible blessing to just cooperate with God in the creation of life. I mean, that is incredible. I guess I had just had Wesley, and my son, who was 13 at the time, the oldest, sat down beside me on the couch and put his head on my shoulder, and he said, Mom, I love this family. I thought, that is huge coming from a 13-year-old teenager. And he said, thank you for having all these kids. we were praying the rosary. And at the end, of course, we always pray for the intercession of all of our patron saints. And my husband was leading it. And at the very end, when he said the last one, I said, St. Gerard, pray for us. And they said, who's St. Gerard? I said, he's the patron saint of expectant mothers. They said, who's expecting? I said, I am. I'm still at 3 to 4 centimeters, but I'm about 70% thinned out and having some contractions and getting ready to meet this little guy.